the heart of the Deep South, right here in the African-American-owned broadcasting studio. We believe digital.com, our own platform. And so it's critically important that in the African-American community, we control the narrative. I look forward to receiving opportunities to show and advertise your products for goods and services and to move your brand along in this community. We're broadcasting live on Facebook. When We Believe Digital Podcast, go to Roku and download our app, and We Believe Global, with shows like this to bring articulate, intelligent conversations and dialogue to our platform. So I'm here to continue sounding the alarm. This is how the South is going to rise again. Good evening and welcome to Socrates Garrett Live. We're broadcasting live right here from Jackson, Mississippi, in the heart of the deep, deep South. Mississippi, the Garden State. You know, Mississippi has a population of less than 3 million people. And most of us know one another and because we're related or we're neighbors or we work together, but most of us know one another here in Mississippi. We know all of the African-American leaders throughout the entire state, and we know most of the European or white leaders throughout the entire state. But now we have to focus on the leadership that causes Mississippi to be in the position that it is in. I don't want to say that it enjoys, because I know that we don't enjoy being last. I don't think we enjoy having the most unhealthiest population in the country. The high obesity rates in Mississippi is number one. Infant mortality, we lead the nation in that area. Incarceration, the number of people that are locked up in Mississippi, more so than in a third world country. So in Mississippi, we have opportunities, because where there are problems, there are opportunities. Those opportunities have to be met with strong, sound, firm leadership. And leadership has to understand the plan, the strategy. As I've always said, where we're going wrong here in Mississippi with our leaders is that we elect them and send them down to do a job that they cannot do, that they don't know how to solve problems. They've never had any experience with solving problems. We elect them based upon their advocacy. They were in charge of some group that was against some other group in some way, and then we declare that that is a prerequisite for being elected, because you are popular. But we have problems and we don't have strategies, and our leaders are lost. And it's okay to be lost. You know, at least you got out there and you started to try and make some things happen. And when you realize you just didn't have the aptitude or the intellect to do it, it was too late. You couldn't turn around. And so what we have to do is change that narrative. We have to give the strategies to the elected officials for them to carry out. Here's the plan. This is what we want you to execute. Now, example, what am I talking about? Dr. Henderson has always said that, you know, we have a strategic plan to eliminate the poor performers in our race and in our communities. And we're going to talk about that plan all night long. We're going to keep talking about it until somebody out there gets it. Because there is a strategy, there is a method to turn this thing around. We can't focus on poor leadership in its entirety when you don't offer a solution to it. Dr. Henderson always says, organize, don't criticize. You know, that's a slogan. But the reality of it is what he's saying is that you craft the plan Share the vision. Everybody can't have a vision. Share the vision so you can have what's called a shared vision. That means you didn't have to be the originator of it, but you share the vision. And you raise your hand that says, I'm willing and desiring to carry out the plans to change our conditions. Now, if you're watching us on Facebook, we want you to send us some stars and share this program with your friends and family. We've been seen in over 139 countries all over the world. If you're watching us on YouTube, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. It's very important to us that you subscribe to our YouTube channel. You know, it's important because we have to find ways to monetize the movement. And you cannot have a movement if you're unable to monetize it. So it's important for us that we try and see if we can monetize YouTube in some way or another as we delve into this world of digital data and social media in a way like never before. Now, if you're watching us on our very own platform, WeBelieveDigital.com, that we want you to share this program with your friends and family. We want you to hit the donate, the contribute button on the website and help us out with this program. Now, our platform is a little bit different. It's not like a YouTube page or Facebook page. It is, in fact, a network. We Believe Digital Network. When you go to WeBelieveDigital.com, you'll see at least 10 to 12 categories that you could choose to be entertained by. If you like sports and you choose the category of sports, all of our latest shows on the sports will be there. You can watch them at your leisure. You can catch them live, or you can watch them later on in the evening, whenever you choose to. If you choose the category of inspiration, you'll find Reverend Ronnie Crudup there, Bishop Ronnie Crudup, and you can watch him from shows from a year and a half ago. You can see the change in his style and the change in his message right there, chronicled on WeBelieveDigital.com. Now, if you're watching, if you choose the category of internet radio, then We Believe Digital Radio is there for you to listen to good music 24 hours or 24/7. And we, of course, our goal is to strip the audio from most of our talk shows, and we have some 25,000 viewers that watch us every evening. The goal is to strip the audio there and have it run on the internet radio so that more of our people that are listening to radio will have the opportunity to hear this show. Now, we're going to get right into it. The strategy on what we must do. This is the strategy that African Americans throughout the world need to subscribe to. They need to buy into this. They need to understand what it is we're asking them to do, and they need to be obligated to getting that done if we are going to do anything for our folk. Dr. Henderson.
Yes, sir.
It's always good to be in the studio with you. How have you been?
I've been doing fine, sir.
Good, good. I missed the show last night, and tell me a little bit about it. How did it go, and who did you have on your radio show?
Well, I didn't have anyone on there, but we had a great show, in my opinion. We were talking about the reasons why one shouldn't play the lottery and deal with the casinos in Mississippi and anywhere in the nation, because of the good and bad characteristics that the winners usually have. I said good and bad characteristics. We didn't find any good ones because all the reasons that the research reports show that it is not good to play the lottery or deal with casinos, because it's mostly the poor people in the state and in the area, and it's usually two groups, the poor blacks and the poor whites. All of them think they're going to win. And to give you an example, I was in a group this week, and there were 40 people, and I told this story last night, 40 people in this group. Now, we were talking about living paycheck to paycheck, and I said they're going to be, by Saturday, we are going to have a chance for someone to win $753.2 million. How many of you all out of this 40 will buy some tickets before Saturday? 35 out of 40 raised their hands. I had teachers in there, preachers, people over 18, all kinds of different or diverse groups and individuals. And I just got through telling them earlier, after we talked about paycheck to paycheck, that the lottery system is worse than that. If you win, you lose.
Doc, I've always known that casinos and lotteries were bad for our people. But I wonder why it is that the casinos, for the most part, are placed in the poor communities, in the African American communities. I take a look at what happens with the other parts of the states. They get an economic engine. The federal government puts a military base like it did in Columbus, Mississippi, the Air Force Base there. If you go to Meridian, Mississippi, you got the Stennis Center there in Meridian that the government put there. If you go down on the Mississippi Gulf Coast, you got Ingalls Shipbuilding down there that the government put down there. But when you come over to the 2nd Congressional District and come into Jackson, Mississippi, which is also in the 2nd Congressional District, where the majority of black folks reside, they get casinos. They don't get an economic engine. They get something that takes the wealth out of our communities, not something that creates jobs and put money back in the community. Is that by design?
It is. And I was reading the Mississippi Link, and this newspaper has an article by Christopher Young that says, "Lives in the balance behind ugly politics." And that's what it is. Casinos, lotteries, or issues of ugly politics that's specifically designed to be placed in certain communities where it will keep the poor people poor and give them an opportunity to think that someone has done something good for them. Right. Because almost everyone that plays the lottery or go to the casino think they're going to win, and many will proclaim that they won, even if they lose $400 or $500 and win 10.
I've seen that happen.
That's right.
You know, someone wins $10 on their way out, and they've lost $400 that night, but they're a winner.
That's what they tell the people.
How do you come to that mindset?
Well, it's the psychology behind it. Everyone wants to be a winner. Even the poor folks don't want to be a loser. So in order to just win anything, you will declare that you won. And if you ask, how much did you play? Oh, I don't know how much I played, but I tell you, I sure came out of there a winner.
Right.
And that person is feeling bad. His inner conscience hurting him because he knows he cannot pay his rent on Monday.
And so we make songs about the casino. These last $2,
That's
you
right.
know, I'm not going to spend. You know, one for the jukebox and one for something else.
That's exact. That's what caused the blues in Mississippi. Casinos, lotteries, and that's what keep you upset in what I call your inner conscience.
And extreme poverty.
Oh man, you can't get away. And the politicians do this deliberately because they believe in the separate but unequal status of certain people. But now they call it in the old days separate and equal. But our politicians now, all over the South and all over the nations, believe in separate and unequal politics, and it's always aligned to the black communities and poor white communities. Everything that's bad will be put in those communities.
Wow.
Industrial plants, chemical plants, all kinds of garbage disposal sites going to be in those communities. But if someone would say, I want to move it and put it in a gated community area, if it's not 35 miles from it, they'll be in the legislature at night, calling all over the state, getting those legislators to know we are not going to have it. And if you vote for it, we're going to vote you out of office.
So what blacks and other ethnic groups get is a result of them not advocating and complaining about what's happening to them.
That's right. See, they complain. They give complaints all the time. They always criticize the politicians. Now, these politicians that I'm looking at right now in the Mississippi Link, these guys, and they're all white males, they're all Republicans, and according to the writer, they all propose Christians, and they all are anti-racist, and most of them, I bet, if you would check them, I know 3 of them do, I know what 3 are doing, they are Sunday school teachers and have great involvement in the church, and they deliver, according to your man in the Mississippi Link, 3 things: pain, suffering, and death for Mississippi.
Wow.
And I advise anyone that's listening to get this edition of the Mississippi Link, volume 29, number 33.
Well, Christopher Young is an outstanding writer, and he's a guy that's very passionate about his work, and he does the research. So when you see Chris Young's name by an article, you can be assured that he's done the research. So what he has shown here, that the leadership in Mississippi is controlled by 5 white males. And this leadership has to take the responsibility for the condition and the position that Mississippi is in on a whole.
Do you remember, Mr. Socrates, where a few weeks ago we were talking about the great year of 1887 when they wrote the Constitution of the United States? 1887. And it said one thing: this Constitution is for white property owner males only. White property owner that are males, white males, no one else.
And so you got 5 white males here in a state that's got 40+% minority population.
That's right. In July 2023, and I'm talking about 1787, no change whatsoever.
No change at all.
In the political system in this state, and it's all over the South. Now, it's virtually all over the nation like this, and when they do get in the northern areas, they get 1 or 2 token blacks and put them in this or that position, but they don't have the voting power to do anything.
Now, Doc, that's our reality. That's the reality, as the writer says here in the Mississippi Link newspaper. But Doc, African Americans going to have to fend for themselves. They are going to have to come up with these strategies, and we talked about that in our opening. We're going to devise the strategy that our elected officials must execute to carry those strategies out according to the way they were reported to them to do so. Now, you say, don't criticize, organize. And you say there's a strategic plan that we must follow. Can you go over that strategic plan again? And I want everybody out there to listen up, especially you elected officials that are African American. Listen up. These are the things that we require you to do as elected officials. Doc, what is that strategic strategy?
Okay, to make it brief and to be very, very brief, I can't do it in 3 hours, but I'm going to do about a 3-minute presentation on it. Basically, where you're in the majority, you need to control certain things: education and training, economic development, religion, politics, and leadership. Those 5 things,
now,
if you're in the majority.
All right.
Then you have to select your own leaders, pool your resources, and you don't wait until the legislators pass laws. You already know what they are anticipating, so you have to organize, get your people together, find out how many people are voting in your district, and get your funds together and go and challenge these guys in the legislature before they pass the law, instead of waiting until they pass something that's going to take 10 years to get to the Supreme Court. And even if you win, it's too late. It's like playing the lottery.
Now, I want to take these 5 points slow. What we're saying is that when you find yourself in the majority, See, there's no excuses here about we're outnumbered. That we don't have the abilities to challenge in these areas here that we just articulated to it. Because we started this out by saying, where you are in the majority. Now, Jackson, Mississippi has a population of some 85% African Americans. Hinds County has a population of over 75% African Americans. So we are clearly in the majority.
That's a fact.
So we got that established. Right. Now, if you're in Rankin County or in Madison County as an African American legislator or city council person, you're not in the majority.
That's a fact. Another fact.
And so we don't think you are going to be able to get much done.
But let me tell you what could happen.
Okay.
Those guys and ladies in Madison and other places like Rankin, Flowood, and others, they might only be 20% of the population. Whatever legislation is passed is going to impact them in a negative way. So if they are organized, instead of criticizing the folks at Rankin and Madison, they should pool their resources with the predominant areas where the blacks and poor folks are in the majority, give them their resources, and they will have more impact when they go to the legislators before the bills are passed.
They would have more impact. We get that. Now we're up on a station identification, and so we're going to have to take a break here. But when we come back, I want to deal with the fact that we are in the majority in Hinds County, in the city of Jackson, and I want to talk about these 5 points that they must control. And I want to ask you, are they controlling these 5 points? Are they controlling education and training? Are they controlling the economics? Are they controlling the religious areas in these 5 points that you named? So when we come back, we're going to talk about that, and we need to know if they are not controlling it, then we got a different set of problems than what we think we got.
Correct.
We're going to a station break, and we'll be right back. Stay tuned.
Looking for the hottest content in the city of Jackson and surrounding areas? Check out WeBelieveDigital.com. Also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. We Believe Digital Podcast is here for all your podcasting needs.
Have you had your Earthblend coffee today? At Earthblend Coffee, we take pride in offering you the very best of beans across the world, blended and roasted to perfection, giving you superior quality and satisfying and flavorful taste. Experience the world in one cup with Earthblend Coffee. To order, visit earthblendcoffee.co now.
The Mississippi Link is an African-American female-owned newspaper with a trusted voice that is highly respected throughout the city, state, and nation. Our motto, keepers of the knowledge for people who speak the truth, since 1993. Link significantly influences the thoughts, attitudes, and buying decisions of its readers. Call us at 601-368-8481 for your advertising needs. If you would like to receive a newspaper in the mail each week, our annual subscription is only $52 per year. That is only $1 per week for you to stay informed regarding many stories that you can only get in the Mississippi Link. Sign up today at themississippiLink.com and click on Home Delivery.
Welcome back to Socrates Garrett Live. We're broadcasting live. We've been seen all over the world in over 139 different countries. You can find us on Facebook, on YouTube, and our very own platform, WeBelieveDigital.com. WeBelieveDigital.com, a network, an African-American-owned network. That's right. Right here in Mississippi, we may be the poorest state in the nation. We may be the most unhealthiest state in the nation. We may have more people incarcerated than any one other state in the nation, but we have the ingenuity and we have the motivation, because where there is pain, there you will find motivation. You see, the young man that invented the cotton gin didn't invent it because he was sitting up watching TV. He invented it because he had to get out of this back-breaking work that was going on. And we find ways to create things and invent things to get rid of the pain. And we got a lot of pain in Mississippi, so we're the most motivated people in the world. But we got a little disconnect here that Dr. Henderson and I have been talking about. Now, we've said that when you are in the majority, we're going to go over it again and again. When you are in the majority, you must control 5 points that Dr. Henderson has outlined. I'm just going to name a couple. You got to control the economics. Let's start right there. Martin Luther King said that it does a man no good to have the right to eat a hamburger in any restaurant that he chooses if he can't afford a hamburger. It does him no good to have rights if he cannot enjoy the privileges that go along with having the economics to participate. And that's why black people all over the world are not voting. The voter apathy is because they don't have the economics. So the American dream doesn't touch them. What they see is despair and a lot of crime and a lot of broken families, a lot of poverty. And so if you're in that condition, what motivates you to go vote? What is it that you think would happen? And so the economics is one that we have to control. Now, in the Mississippi Link, as Dr. Henderson has been talking about, there are 5 white gentlemen here on this cover of this paper. Tate Reeves, the governor, Delbert Hoseman, the lieutenant governor, Dean Kirby, Gunn, the outgoing Speaker of the House, and Jason White, House Speaker Pro Tem. They control everything that moves in the state because, you see, when you control the committee chairmen, then they follow the instructions. So when the lieutenant governor appoints you as chairman of Education Committee, chairman of the Corrections Committee, chairman of the Transportation Committee, he appoints you in that position with the instructions. And everybody moves in lockstep. You see it every day in Washington, D.C. You see it all over the world. They don't break rank. They carry out the plan that's put in place, and that plan is not about you and I, African Americans. That plan is about keeping the largesse and keeping the quality of life in the community where it has always been forever. No change. And it's serious business. People died for it. I have to remind you that 780,000 people died in the Civil War. What were they fighting about? Do you think they were fighting because they didn't like black people? Do you think they just don't like you? That's not it at all. We got to understand what this war is about. It's about the economics. Now, there are other points here that Dr. Henderson said. You got to control education and training and religion. You got to control those, because if you don't control education, your children have no self-esteem. They have no idea who they are and why they are that way and how did they get that way and how did some get to be jet black and some got to be high yellow and some got red hair and some got all kinds of issues. If you don't control education, then you cannot destroy the myth that African Americans are lazy and shiftless and irresponsible. If you don't control education. So, Dr. Henderson, this plan is critically important. But these 5 Europeans here, these 5 Caucasian men, control the state. Right underneath here, Doc, though, in where we are the majority, 5 African Americans on the Board of Supervisors control the Board of Supervisors. And Doc, I see no difference in the economic conditions of black folks in Hines County than I see in the condition of black folks throughout the whole state. The 5 blacks don't make any difference than the 5 whites, and I can't understand why that is.
Well, you can't understand that, Mr. Socrates.
Well,
I know
please.
you're just saying that since you're asking me the question. You know the answer because we have talked about
But
it, but I don't
I
blame you for
don't
asking.
know if the viewers understand the
They don't.
answer.
That's right. Well, it's very simple. Whoever controls the economics, education, leadership, religion, and politics at the top level, they also control it at the medium and the low levels. These very people that you're talking about in the county supervisors, the city councils, and the mayors in all of these towns, wherever you are, if you do one thing that I've been telling people that they don't like to hear, if you look at where these top guys get their money to run their campaigns and who is contributing to the county supervisors, the mayors, and the city council people throughout the country, you'll find it's the underlings of these same big companies.
Now hold it right there. You're saying that the 5 whites that control the entire state are controlling the 5 blacks on the Board of Supervisors in Hinds County.
Well, no matter who they are, black and the 1 or 2 whites too, they control them all because they are in business, according to your man, to deliver pain, suffering, and death. Now, if you don't have good water, your kids drinking lead, if you don't have the money to get the job and the training you need, if you are going to have sickness in your family, you can't get good health care because they say, we're not going to expand Medicaid. We don't want to fund these old hospitals out in the community where you live, folks, up in the Delta and so forth. Say, we don't care nothing about you. You're going to suffer, you're going to be in pain, and you're going to die. And I'm a good Christian, but I don't care about you. You are on your own.
How are you going to be a good Christian and not care about me?
I didn't say a practicing Christian. See, you have to proclaim that you are a good Christian, and from time to time, you have to carry the Bible with you, and you have to show the people that I am a good Christian because I'm teaching Sunday school. I'm the trustee in my church. But a
Are
black
you saying that these 5 white leaders here are teaching Sunday school?
some of them are. They're good Christian gentlemen
What makes them good Christian gentlemen?
because they are carrying out the obligations of good Christians according to what's in the Bible, and only though the things that fit them. See, that is like going along with the Constitution. You change it when you feel you want it to take care of you, because the same Constitution and the same Bible are similar. You can find the Bible verse somewhere to justify anything you want to do in this world during your lifetime. You can find the same thing in the Constitution to advocate anything you want to do. One day, you can be given the death penalty. The next year or two, you can't have the death penalty. That's all in the Constitution. You can hang people. You can lynch them. Constitution might say you can't do that, but they won't enforce the laws. They won't demand that the police, the judges, and others enforce the laws. They might say we're going to have education equity in our cities, in our states, but they don't send the money to the so-called poor districts so they can do what they need to do. So we have a lot of competition in public education. They don't want competition in public education. They want division. They want to have that elitist system where their children get those jobs to take care of their responsibilities when Dad, Uncle John, and this speaker leaves.
Okay.
His son or his cousin or his daughter going to come in one of those 5 areas that I talked about and going to be leaders there. And all of them get together from time to time and talk about how to maintain the status quo.
Now, Doc, we said where you are in the majority. That's our premise.
That's right.
That's the foundation of our plan. Because if you're not in the majority, you're outnumbered and you're going to be beat down.
Every time.
Because numbers matter. So where you're in the majority, then you have to control these 5 points. And we're talking about religion, education, economic development, politics, and leadership. Now, but then you said that the 5 whites that are running the state of Mississippi are controlling the 5 blacks that are in the majority.
Well, that's most certainly clear because they control the money. Suppose the federal government will send Mississippi $850 million for infrastructure needs, and it has to go through the governor's office. You think that governor's going to send that money to the supervisors, to the city council, and to the mayors of the respective states that might be of another political party? Of course not. Even if the court demands that he does, the governor, male or female, going to appoint their own man and give him or her the money to administer those funds, and they will call them in for an interview and tell them the same thing. I'm going to make you the financial agent for this $2 billion to do blank and blank in Hinds County, in the state of Mississippi, in Georgia, Alabama. Now, I don't care what you do, but these are the 3 things you can't do. Read it. Can you accept this? Yes, sir. You got the job.
Now, Doc, we got to break that. We got to break that curse. We got to break that dependency. We got to break that because it violates the strategy. Now, if you are in the majority and we send 5 members down there to the Board of Supervisors, we intend for them to control the economics and make the economics turn over in our community. They have to do that.
No, they're supposed to do that.
No, yes, they are supposed to, but
Right.
they're going to have to, Doc, because if they don't subscribe to that, then we cannot allow them to be our leaders, our elected officials. We cannot accept that because it is tantamount to genocide that you're destroying your own community when you don't let the economics flow back into the community. Recently, we had an incident that just bothers me, and it bothers me, and I can't get it off my heart. A young black man, Lee Bush, owns a garbage collection company in Jackson, Mississippi for 20 plus years. Put in a bid to pick up the garbage in Hinds County, some 17,000 households. His bid was $11 a household. Waste Management's bid was $16 a household, $5 difference. 5 times 17,000 times 12 is $1 million difference, Doc. 5 black men, not 5 racist white men, 5 black men that live in the community, go to the churches that we go to, voted unanimously to give the contract to Waste Management. Now, you tell me, how is that remotely possible in 2023?
Very possible. And the reason it's possible because you're talking about it, and it actually happened. It actually happened because of the same reasons that I've been talking about for the last 30 years. Who controls the money controls the results from the national, state, and local levels in those 5 areas of activity. The easy way to solve this problem is for the people to do 2 things that they don't do in the black community and the poor white community. They don't vote for their collective interests. When poor people, black and white, get angry with their politicians, they refuse to vote. In those very areas that you talked about, Hinds County, city of Jackson, the facts show that about 30% of the registered voters vote. So that means about 70% don't vote. And those 30% vote for the same people over and over, And the 70% always criticizing, and I see it on TV, read about it in the paper. I don't have good water. Infrastructure is bad. My kids are getting sick. I can't take a bath from my head up. I have to start with my neck down. And I have to buy water. All kinds of problems to flush my commode. Every time I get in my car, my heart starts hurting because I wonder whether we hit a pothole that's going to kill me or tear up my car. Because the city, the county, not going to fix it. When you don't do what you're supposed to do, when you don't vote, and when you don't pool your resources, you expect to have pain. And these politicians know it. So they're going to pass laws to make it difficult for you to vote. That's what they're supposed to do to maintain their non-religious principles. That's what people do. To stay in power, you do whatever you can to keep others out of power.
So Doc, I get that, but black people gotta be stronger and smarter. We can't allow others to dictate to our leaders and elected officials how they must carry out the agenda that they set forth. And I see it all too often. The people, the blacks that are rising to power these days, Tim Scott, Tim, whatever his name is over there that's running.
You're right, from North Carolina, right. South Carolina, or somewhere up there. He's a senator, United States senator.
And he's a presidential candidate.
Of course.
And he is a Republican. He is a member of the same group that we're talking about here, these 5 white gentlemen on the front page of the Mississippi Link.
Well, they didn't pick them, selected them a good man. I told you, you have to select your own leaders. So they have a good guy. He's going to get his pecking orders and his working orders and his talking points from the Republican committee. They're going to give the same 30 or 40 talking points to all the candidates from the local, state, regional, and federal level. They're going to talk about the same thing. And the black candidate's going to do the same. If they would adhere from that one sentence, the next day, they'll be in front of national television saying, ladies and gentlemen, due to personal and family issues, I'm going to have to get out of this campaign.
Doc, we're up against a heartbreak. We're going to come back and we're going to shift gears a little bit, and we're going to talk about some elections, some races that are currently running. August 8th is election day here in Hinds County for all of our supervisors throughout the entire state, and I believe we have 82 counties here in the state of Mississippi, and all of the representatives for the legislature and the Senate are on the ballot for August 8th. And there's some interesting races going on. We want you to stay tuned. We're going to come back and take a look at who is offering themselves for leadership in our community, whether or not they are in the majority, and whether or not they subscribe to the things we've been talking about. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Looking for the hottest content in the city of Jackson and surrounding areas? Check out WeBelieveDigital.com. Also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. We Believe Digital Podcast is here for all your podcasting needs.
Have you had your Earth Blend coffee today? At Earth Blend Coffee, we take pride in offering you the very best of beans across the world, blended and roasted to perfection, giving you superior quality and satisfying and flavorful taste. Experience the world in one cup with Earth Blend Coffee. To order, visit earthblendcoffee.co now.
The Mississippi Link is an African-American female-owned newspaper with a trusted voice that is highly respected throughout the city, state, and nation. Our motto, keepers of the knowledge for people who speak the truth, since 1993. Link significantly influences the thoughts, attitudes, and buying decisions of its readers. Call us at 601-368-8481 for your advertising needs. If you would like to receive a newspaper in the mail each week, our annual subscription is only $52 per year. That is only $1 per week for you to stay informed regarding many stories that you can only get in the Mississippi Link. Sign up today at themississippiLink.com and click on Home Delivery.
Welcome back to Socrates Garrett Live. We're broadcasting live from right here in Jackson, Mississippi, in an African-American owned and operated studio. Now, if you're watching us on Facebook, then go ahead and share this program with your friends and family and send us some stars. If you're watching us on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe to our program. It's critically important to us. If you're watching us on WeBelieveDigital.com, then enjoy the program there, but check out all of the other categories that you may want to take a look at later on. You enjoy this show live, but you can go back and watch it anytime that you choose to. You can go to the category of inspiration, and you can watch Reverend Ronnie Crudup preaching from 5 years ago. Choose any sermon that you might be interested in, or any funeral that he was presiding over, and all of that information is there for you. If you want sports, then go and take a look at all of the wonderful programs that we have running over there in our sports channel. Also, we have the We Believe Internet radio station over there on that platform. Select that, and it'll take you direct to our radio station. It's critically important. Now, we want folk out there that are like-minded. We get it, that if you're not like-minded, then you ought not support this program. You ought not support this endeavor. You ought not support anything in the black community. I get that. Because we're here to change the status quo. We're here to call it out. We're here to try and make a difference for our children. Dr. Henderson and our living has already been made. It's not an issue for us, but it is an issue of what's going to happen to our grandchildren and what's going to happen to their children. It is a real issue there. And so we take this fight. We take this fight knowing that, popularity and all of the things that most people seek, we put all that on the line to bring you information, the truth. We'll tell you what we think, and we give you the strategy on how to overcome it. Now, the strategy this evening has been articulated to you time and time again, but I'm going to go through it. Where you are in the majority, you need to control 5 critical areas. You need to control economics, education and training, leadership, politics. Doc, there's one more, religion.
That's right.
You gotta control those 5 things. Now, we're in the election cycle. The election here in the state of Mississippi is August 8th. All of our supervisors statewide, there are 82 counties in Mississippi. We don't need, every county does not need 5 supervisors, but that's the way they put the system in place so that they could get money in contracts to their friends and their allies. So what we have to do now during this election cycle, we have to make certain that these candidates understand what we expect. This is the strategy. Where we are in the majority, you control the economics. We've gone through that. Now, we have an interesting race that's going on. The interesting race is going on through between a good friend of mine, Pastor Bishop Dwayne Pickett, and an incumbent, Senator David Blunt. Now, Pastor Pickett has been working in this community all of his life. He's been up in the 2nd Congressional District. He has seen more things. He hadn't seen as much as Dr. Henderson because he's not as old as Dr. Henderson, but he has been chased by the Klan. He has been run down by the Klan. He has seen ugly things in our community. And he is pastoring one of the most populated churches in Jackson, Mississippi. What I noticed about New Jerusalem, where he is the pastor and the bishop, that his population is extremely young. The people that are attending that are young folk. And he spent his entire ministry trying to reach young African American men and women. Now he's offered himself up to run for the House of Representatives against an incumbent. Now, the district that he's running in meets the first criteria that we've been talking about. We are in the majority. So you know where we're going. Where we are in the majority, we must control 5 things. Now, it ought not have to be said that if you are in the majority, you're going to elect one of your kind, one of your own. You would think that is just as plain and clear and as anything in the world. Pastor Pickett, is running against a white senator that's been in office for 16 years in a majority black district. Think about that. I spoke with him the other day, and he shared with me his passion and why he's running. And he went on to tell me about the many funerals that he has to preach, and the ills that he sees in our community, and the poverty that he sees. He went on to talk to me about incarceration and crime in our community, and why he's so passionate and why he is so upset with the legislature for passing bills like 1020, which gave Europeans control over our city. And why does he feel that way? And he said to me that you got to understand where I came from. You got to understand what I see every day in my ministry. You got to understand that if I don't try and change things and make a difference, then I have let my family down and my constituency down and the people that I'm preaching to. Why ought they listen to me if I don't offer myself up as a candidate? I like what he said. And so I'm supporting Pastor Pickett in his endeavor to unseat an incumbent. But there are many out there who thinks that it's an Achilles heel, that he can't do it. Dr. Henderson.
Yes.
Why is it being talked about in a manner that it's going to be a challenge for Pastor Pickett to unseat an incumbent in a district that is majority African American?
Oh, that's very easy to analyze. I am, and I want to make it clear, nonpartisan. That means, basically, I don't care nothing for the Democrats, the Republicans, the Libertarian Party, or any of the parties. I look at what individual politicians can do for me and address the issues that I'm concerned about and the people that I represent. Makes no difference at all. But any candidate that has to fight an incumbent going to find him or herself in a situation where it's very difficult to win the first time if they don't do 2 things. 1 year before they announce, I say 1 year before they announce, they would have to get the voters' rolls in the districts. Look at how many people are voting. Look at how many that are registered and not voting, and then look at how many people are qualified to register that's not registered, and work with those folks in a solid manner. Pay a campaign manager, pay a voting specialist, and let them analyze all that stuff and get these new people on the road. The same 30% that's been voting to put candidates in office for the last 16 years or 30 years, and some been in office 30 years in black districts when they're in the minority, they're going to win with ease unless you do just what I said. And once you get all these people together, you then have to put your resources together, find you some donors, have your money available, your strategic plan together in writing, and then announce and hit the road with the idea that you're going to win. Because he is not going to sway that 30% that's voting in Hinds County, because the 70% don't care about nothing but criticizing people because they don't ever get anything they want.
Now, the 70% are currently not voting.
That's correct.
And we said why they're not voting a few minutes ago. We talked about the fact that they have lost hope.
That's right.
That they don't see anything impacting their lives, whether they have a white politician or a black politician. They don't see how it's going to benefit them. Now, Doc, if they thought it was going to benefit them in some way, they vote.
That's true. I agree.
If they thought that my life is going to change, they would vote. But historically, their life hadn't changed. And so that 70% is not engaging in the deal. But Pickett, you say, can't win unless he can activate that 70%.
And the voters that are qualified to vote that's not registered. And you have to do that before you announce. You have to get your precinct captains together, your campaign managers, your regional managers, your fundraisers. You don't announce you're running for political office in an area like that with a lot of folks that have what we call good education, good economic power. They are the elite in the community. Those are the people that vote.
But Doc,
Yes, sir.
it's a majority black district.
That has nothing to do with anything.
Oh, my.
They are locked into what they have done for the last 16 years. The same people going to vote, the same sorority, fraternity, same community organization, neighborhood managers and so forth. The same black business people going to vote for the same person.
Now, Doc,
Yes, sir.
if a black man can't win in a black district, if a black businessman can't win with a low bid in Hinds County, if a black businessman can't win with a low bid in the city of Jackson, is there any hope?
Yes, there's hope. I just told you. I've been telling you for 30 years, you have to train your own leaders. I was looking at some information the other day, and I was looking at the age requirement for all the major positions in the state of Mississippi. 21 to 35 years of age, you can get in any position almost you want in this state. Those new leaders can be trained within 7 years. If you start with the 16-year-olds, within 7 years, many of them will be old enough to be mayors, city council people, be members in the legislature, be old enough for governorship, because you're going to get some that's under 18, some in their 20s, 25, early 30s, and create what I've been telling you, a new man that's been trained to be a leader, that knows how to put compacts together, know that you can't be a dead 100% Democrat or a dead 100% Republican. Know that you don't supposed to hate the people that have the money. You got to know how to talk to them. You have to know how to put proposals together and say, I need $100 million for this or that. And this is the voting power I have. And these are the people I control. And this way you have to help me. Because if you don't, I'm going to get you out of office. You say that very diplomatically. Be very straightforward. Look them dead in the eye. But at the same time, they're going to be plotting to find something on you, and they're going to come back through their under people usually, if it's a Caucasian group, they're going to find a good Uncle Tom to come back and meet you in private, and they're going to show you what they have on you. And that's when you're going to have to decide whether you want to continue to run for this office or be castrated in public.
Wow. So a young leader's background is really important.
Very much so.
And so you have to make a decision when we start to train young leaders in terms of what is required there.
That's right. At least 15 up to about 25.
And young men and women are
that's right.
hard to, well, when you're young, you just do crazy things.
Of course, but see, you don't need many, sir. You need a core group of young leaders that's already had some leadership training in the schools where they were the student government. They were president, vice presidents of all kind of extracurricular clubs and so forth. They on sport teams and so forth in leadership positions. Those are the people you have to get. You don't ever expect the whole group to work with you. You get those people that have a little popularity in the community, and they are just like honey. That'll draw the others to you. Suppose a famous football player that had the top record in Mississippi at 18, he started to college, and he decided to run for the legislature, and he is only 21 years of age in his senior year. He could win.
Now, Doc, we're running out of time. So I want to go over it again because we're going to keep putting it out there. Well, you are in the majority African Americans. You got a responsibility to do 5 things. You got to bring the economics back into our community. You cannot deny economic opportunity to our community. You just can't do that. That's tantamount to treason. That is criminal. You see, to have African American business in our community that we don't utilize is criminal. Think about it. So you have to deliver the economics back to the community. Now, and you got to understand what that means because many of our leaders don't understand what that means. So I'll go back and I'll tell you very succinctly. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Go back to the black leaders before your generation and see what they said.
That's all you got to do.
Just go back and look at what they said. See what did Martin say. See what did Maynard say. And just in case you don't know, Martin again said it does a man no good to have the ability to go in any restaurant to eat a hamburger if he can't afford the price of a hamburger. Martin gave his life because of the economics in Memphis, Tennessee. He started fooling with economics and he got serious. Maynard said, all contracts that come before me are going to have 25% minority participation, period. You don't do it, don't come see me. It didn't, nothing illegal about me telling you to not come see me. I just won't have no meeting with you. Why aren't you meeting with me? Well, I don't know, why don't you go figure it out? Just hold your line, hold your ground. You see, white folk expect you to take care of black folk. They expect you to take care of your own people. But if you don't, they use you as pawns. We need to take care of ourselves. There's nothing wrong with that. 25% of all contracts gotta go into the African American community. I can't find now. Well, we're gonna import some then. We're gonna bring some blacks in out of Seattle. We're gonna bring some blacks in out of Atlanta. You will send the word out that you want 25% minority participation in all contracts for goods and services. Black folk will show up. They don't come here now because they know blacks get less than 3% of contracts for goods and services in the state of Mississippi and less than 10 in our municipalities and in our counties and in our school districts. The chances are better in a majority white district than it is currently in a majority black district. And that's got to change. Now, we're running out of time. We're going to keep going over this until you get it right. I want to say out there to Pastor Pickett, and I know that you're having a fundraiser tonight. Anybody that wants to go down and meet Pastor Pickett, I think that fundraiser is at 4th Avenue, downtown Jackson, Mississippi. You can hustle on down there and shake his hand, tell him you heard about it right here on We Believe Digital. He needs your support. He's a good man. He's trying to make a difference. Don't ridicule him. Don't let him stand alone. Because, see, young blacks are watching. Young black folk are watching everything we do. We failed one time when we didn't end the debacle over civil rights after Emmett Till. We can't fail again. We got to get it right. I want to send a shout out to Raquel Lumumba, young lady that's running hard out there for District 72. She's experienced, she's competent, she's capable, she's committed. She's done everything right. She's out here fighting as hard as she can for an opportunity to make a difference. When she went to that podium on the steps of the Capitol to talk about the ills of those bills that were passing in the legislature, 1020 and 1075, and things of that nature that was going to change the landscape of how government works in Mississippi, she stood firmly and boldly. I was impressed. Didn't know much about the young lady before that. But the more I got to know and the more I heard her speak, the more I understood that she is the right one. So I'm encouraging you to go out and support her. Doc, it's been a great hour. Time always flies.
It does.
Tell the people where they can reach you and how they can contact you in the days to come.
Okay, thank you. Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to contact Eldridge Henderson, I'm part of a speakers bureau. There are about 10 of us. And if you want to hear the real news about these 5 areas of activity that you must control, from birth to death, wherever you're in the majority, anywhere in the world, and I say in the world, that your life can start changing in 30, 60, 90 days, and all you have to do if you want to hear the real non-radio version, non-TV version of what I'm talking about, call us at 601-201-1957, and we will come to your school, your church, your community organization, your family reunion, and tell you exactly how you can organize in your area in those 5 areas of activity, and you'll win every time. People will come to you begging you, I want to give you some support, so they can come in again and take over and make you get in a position where, according to Mr. Young, you're going to be suffering, you're going to have a lot of pain and death in your life. Organize, don't criticize.
Thank you, Doc. It's been a great evening. We want y'all to stay safe out there. Think about what you heard here tonight. Talk to your friends about it. Talk to all candidates about it. Make sure they're on board. If they're not on board, don't vote for them. Y'all stay safe and have a good evening.